Political force since this grassroots movement started in 2009. We're talking millions of Americans who essentially said pox on both houses, whose reckless spending has put the future greatness of America in question. Now, despite rumors of their demise, including a recent poll, that's from Gallup, showing only 15% GOP support, the Tea Party put Republicans in charge in Congress, kicked John Boehner out of leadership, and will not go quietly into the night when it comes to the next speaker. Gina Loudon is back with me. And Gina, I want you to listen to Tony Kornheiser. He's an ESPN radio host, and what he had to say about the Tea Party and ISIS.
Paul Ryan has enough conservative chops that he can sort of try to unify the whole party, but he's going to be spending all his time trying to deal with these Tea Party people.
Are they like ISIS trying to establish a caliphate here?
Yes.
Well,
they are. It's a very good analogy, without the violence, obviously, but they are a rejectionist front.
Well, you're part of a rejectionist front. How do you feel about that?
I feel like that, they completely missed the point of the entire U.S. Constitution and the founding of America itself if they don't understand that America has always been about asking important questions. And I would argue, Charles, that the questions that the Tea Party asks are pretty important, like why has government gotten so big? Why has government put our children in permanent debt? And why won't this government do anything to assure and secure the future of America? I think those are logical questions to ask, and to compare him to ISIS is so off the charts hyperbole that it's just irritating and annoying and makes him look stupid, frankly.
Well, I tend to agree with you. But one thing I think will happen is that the Tea Party will continuously come under pressure, and from all sides, by the way. Remember, when it first started, it was a racist organization. Then it was a bunch of rich people, and then it was a bunch of old white people. And then, it's been every kind of description that you can name except for what you just said. A bunch of concerned people who just wanted to have their voice heard. And I think it's a movement that continues to have a lot of influence.
Absolutely. You mentioned the toppling of the speaker. I don't know who the people think did that, but that was liberty-minded Americans who were tired of the Republicans, after being given the majority, not taking a stand on Obamacare, not taking a stand on the debt ceiling and things like that, not doing anything to size down government. But also look at who the three leading Republican presidential candidates are. Who do you think the Liberty or the Freedom Caucus is? For them to say things like the Tea Party's dead or the Tea Party's going away, no, the Tea Party was always about people who didn't want to be labeled, who were independent thinkers, who were conservative and didn't like the size of government. The Tea Party's still out there. Just because they don't want to identify as such doesn't mean they're not there.
For me, what I thought, though, the Tea Party's greatest strength's also the greatest weakness, in the sense that it's a grassroots organization. It's a movement. It's not an organization. It's really a movement.
Yes.
And there's no head. There's no one in charge of the Tea Party. So that's good, but it's also not good in the sense that there's not necessarily a spokesperson, and you can get anyone saying anything negative like this, whether it's a sports announcer or some columnist in a New York magazine.
You're absolutely right, Charles, but that was very well thought out. I was there at the very inception of the Tea Party. As a lifelong Republican, I got tired of the establishment handing candidates to us and telling us to just swallow the candidates that they dug up that we didn't like. And so I was part of that. And I remember thinking about this very carefully. And if there were a head, we knew all they'd do is go after that head, try to cut the head off, and completely discredit the entire organization. So this was very well thought through. And it may not work well for the short term, but in the long term, what's happened is Tea Party people have just become grassroots activists who are there doing things like speaking out against Boehner, who are writing as journalists all over the country that are just citizens doing their job, making the truth known. And by the way, that 55% that is supporting the new independent candidates that we have never seen before in a Republican primary. That's who the Tea Party is, and that's where they've gone. Essentially, they've blossomed and grown.
There's no doubt about it. So Tony Kornheiser, take that. Gina Loudon, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Stocks,
Thank you.
It was interesting because stocks